Well, g'day to all my mates out there in YouTube land. Hope you're having a good day. I've been putting out a few short videos for no other reason that I just come across, I don't know, something that I see that takes my fancy, and it's, I think it's about a minute, something like that, for a short video. So if I see something while I'm going down the street, I just do a quick short video. But I'm going to try and get some of these longer ones out. Today's topic, or as they say in the YouTube business, content, is probably going to be, I don't know, I'll probably title it something like, do foreigners have equality here in the Philippines? Now, this is only my experience, so, and I'm not bagging the place. I'm just going to tell it like it is. So I got here in 2004 originally, so you can do the maths what year it is now. So many experiences dealing with Filipinos in that time. And when I first came here back then, I built a house. Now, talking about equality, I should write down some of the examples that I wanted to talk about, but I'll just do what we do here in Sebland, and that is just try and explain when I think of examples. So probably the first example I experienced about foreigners versus being a Filipino is when, and this is across the board, maybe not so much now, but in the early days, I would buy building supplies for the house, and I would go down to the local building supply guy. He wasn't a bad guy. I had my moments with him for sure, but the prices would vary, sometimes quite a lot. So I soon learned that I would send my wife's cousin or one of the nephews down to negotiate what we need. So what am I talking about? Well, I guess another example is when we used to go to the market, I'd want to buy a hammer. So I'd go up and I'd look at the different hammers, because they had them all displayed on a table in the market, and I'd pick up a hammer and I'd say, well, how much is this? And you'd get that look. There's a certain look that you get, and they're thinking, well, how much is the hammer? I mean, he knows how much the hammer is, but how much is the hammer? So the hammer could be, for me, 200 peso. So I soon learned I would send my wife in at the time to ask the prices of different things. So we'd go down to another store, and funny enough, the first hammer was 200 peso, her price was 100 peso. So there was definitely a little bit of expansion on some of the pricing when you are a foreigner. Some people call it white skin tax. Now that's a bit derogatory. I don't use that term, but it is very commonly used here. Another example is some of the tourist attractions here. Waterfalls, entry. Now for a Filipino, it could be 20 peso. For a foreigner, probably 100. Why? Because the general census is we are wealthy. We all have money. Now I know a lot of guys here that have a very small budget. There's a lot of guys here, ex-military, and rightly so. They're getting, you know, not a bad pension. They've served their country, they deserve it, and they're getting by okay. Some guys, not so much. I mean, they're on a very modest budget. You got rent to pay. Things are going up, as they are all over the world. So it's generally accepted we have money. And mostly, I guess, in most cases, it's probably true that we get more per month than the average Filipino. And if you live here, you would have to That's the general sense is that, yeah, that's correct, you know. But it does have an adverse effect when you're negotiating something. Another example, which has happened a lot, I've noticed, since after the pandemic, when a lot of you guys, you know, after watching YouTube, won't mention any names, decided that this is the place to come and retire. And I'm glad you have. And through all the drama-getty stories and everything, which again you get all over the world, it's still not a bad place to come and retire. It is getting a little bit more expensive, but as I say, that the inflation is happening all over the world. But when you come here, you generally come for a boots on the ground look around, and you got a bit of money. When you live here permanently, you tend to pull back a bit on your budget out of necessity. But a lot of you guys are very generous, and probably, you know, even I feel pity for, and I've done a few videos on how guys make a living here, you know, digging holes, parking cars, and they're in the sun all day, and they might get, you know, 5-10 peso per little whatever they're doing. In the case of some of the guys, the labourers, they get like 300 to 400 peso a day, which is, what's that? It's about $10 Australian. So they're getting by on not much, and we're getting by on a lot more per week or per month than that. However, our standard of housing that we are used to is a lot different to Filipinos. Not saying that they deliberately want, you know, a slightly less standard, but that's what they can afford. And generally speaking, it's a family community house or a mother title. So there's aunties, there's cousins, nephews, nieces, grandmothers, and they're all in the same house. You know, it's necessity. They can't afford to have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house on the beach. It ain't gonna happen. But digressing a little bit there, getting back to when you first come here and being a little bit generous, what happens is, and I've noticed this especially with the tricycle drivers, is the new guys will come into town and they'll go a short distance, and they think, oh, poor guy, you know, he's riding this bike in the sun all day long, I'll give him 100 peso. Now the fare is 20. Okay, anywhere around Dumaguete, within that central area, is generally 20 peso. I give them 30, you know. But I know a lot of the new guys come here and they think, oh, you know, 100 peso, 150 peso, which is great. It does help them a lot. But what happens is, human nature, they get used to it. So you go to get, you know, I go to get a tricycle now to go down the road to go shopping. And he looks at me and I say, how much? He goes, up to you, which is a very common saying here. Up to you, sir. So I go, all right, 20 peso. And then he drives off. They never used to drive off. So now you know, during the day it's not too bad. You'll just jump in and you'll pay your 20 or 30 peso. But you know, after 5 o'clock, they're onto you. If you want to get home during peak hour or at night time, it really, you know, they're getting used to a lot higher prices with these pedicab tricycle guys. So that's just another example. Of course, talking about equality, foreigner versus being Filipino, obviously, and this is still the case today, and I always thought, well, it's understandable that we can't have land in our name. Now in Australia, America, wherever, if a Filipino comes over to Australia, they can buy land, you know, if whatever, that's not a problem. Doesn't matter if you're from China or Japan or wherever, you can buy land, you can buy a house. Here, no. It's got to be in a Filipino's name or Filipino's name or a corporation, or the only other way is if you do buy some land and it's in your girlfriend's name or wife's name and you're a bit concerned about it, on the same day that you do the paperwork, and you've got to get a clean title, is to have a 25-year lease. So from the day that you purchase the land, it's leased to you for 25 years. Now, it doesn't mean to say if you have some sort of disagreement with your girlfriend or wife, they can make life hard for you and you'd want to leave anyway. So, you know. But is equality a problem here? I think if you reflect on the reasons why tourist attractions are more expensive, why sometimes tricycles are more expensive, why sometimes, and getting back to, you know, when I first bought that hammer quite a few years ago, there was no prices on things. Whereas now, if you go to even a fruit market, they'll have a little bit of cardboard with like 20 peso a kilo for tomatoes or bananas or something. So they'll have a price up. Whereas before, you had to ask the price, and it was a lucky dip. You could either get local price or you know, they might shove it up a little bit. But now most of the guys go shopping at proper supermarkets like Lee Plaza, Hypermart, Robinsons, and of course all of the products, the produce is all marked clearly what the price is. So there's one price for everybody. So that's changed over the years. I apologise if the camera's moving a little bit. It's on a tripod and I've got a bit of wind action going on. I'm trying to slow it down. So yeah, it is different. It is different to what we would call equality back in Australia. Will it ever change? I don't know. I don't think so, especially not with the land and property. And the main reason I believe for that is, you imagine if you know, and it happens a lot with foreign investors in Australia coming with a lot of money and just buying out, you know, house after house. And if we had came in here 20 years ago, and you could own land, we'd probably, back then it was about 200 peso, I think, per square metre. Now it's like, up in Valencia, I think it's 3,000 to 5,000 peso per square metre. So I think I might buy 3 square metres. But yeah, you know, back then the price is 200 pesos. So of course, if we could own land, I would have come and bought, you know, probably, you know, 10 hectares and then subdivided it. So for that reason, I believe that they're sort of protecting the local economy. Although inevitably, what's happened is we have come here, we have paid bigger prices for land, and it's 10 times the price of what it was 10, 15 years ago. So they're just some examples of, and I don't know now, but I think you can now. Maybe you guys can leave some comments about your experiences and what you think about this. You know, is it fair? Do you fear that, you know, have you felt that you've been sort of, you know, taken advantage of or whatever because of where you come from? I think it's getting better. In the early days, it was quite obvious that, you know, the equality thing was a bit of a challenge. Whether now you can actually get a car loan as a foreigner. I applied a few years ago and it had to be in a Filipino's name. I think now I heard that, and again, you guys could, from who's bought cars, I know a lot of you have got new ones here, whether you can get a car loan, whether you can get finance. I guess maybe you can now. You just show an income or a bank, maybe you got to have a bank account here in the Philippines. But years ago, you couldn't get a car loan, or even a bike loan for that matter. So I think that may have changed, but I don't know. Anyway, that was just a subject that I thought I'd just bring up. By no means do I mean to be have any malice or anything against the system, but that's just the way it rolls. So yeah, be interesting to know what you think. Anyway, guys, please, and also I'm nearly at that magic 1,000. I get monetized. Not that I do. I'm not doing this for money, I can tell you, because I haven't earned any. But it's just a challenge to try and get the views. And I mean, I've got other mates that are quite popular vloggers, and like, they're through the roof. And I'm sitting at 933. So hey, give us a hand. See if we can hit the 1,000. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right, guys, have a great day. God bless, and talk to you in the next video. See you later.